Ladies and gentlemen, in the intricate dance of love and commitment, we often encounter situations where the heart's desired collide with the expectations of tradition and society. Just as my friend's cousin found herself entangled in the complexities of Afro-social dynamics, Zimbabwe's political landscape today faces a similar dilemma, striving to reconcile the legitimacy conferred by the law with the crucial stamp of approval from its people. Imagine a scenario where two people deeply in love intend to marry, but their union lacks blessing of their families. Legally, nothing bars them from marrying the chosen partner, but the absence of familial approval leaves them feeling incomplete, as if they're not yet husband and wife in the eyes of society. So in Zimbabwe, the ruling party, ZANU-PF, finds itself in a comparable situation. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZAC, serves as the equivalent of a court wedding judge, legally legitimizing the hold of power. But however, much like our lovebirds, they too seek broader validation. And as you know that people are just looking forward to see change, and change comes in many ways, and the question is, how is it going to be possible? And today, I want us to question ourselves. Would you rather have a whole country suffer while you enjoy the little because you want to benefit alone? So we need to get things straight. There is no way this government can ever, maybe let me repeat, there is no way this government can ever become legitimate, no matter how much they grandstand or they try to act all legitimate. It doesn't matter. Legitimacy matters. So we'll talk about that issue today. And secondly, we will always demand change, but nothing happens. When change comes, we demand for the previous change to change back into its former settings. You get the point? Most of the situations we find ourselves in a situation where we say, but Mugabe was better than this guy. We found change, we marched for change, we demonstrated for change, but we still found ourselves grappling with the same idea of not wanting to see ED again and again, and we even say Mugabe was better. So today I'll talk about the people who still want to insinuate that Nelson Chamisa is a sellout again, but that would be the third thing. But the third one, based on chronology, I'll wrap up how the president has continued to undermine the people by appointing corrupt individuals and also his family. So let's get to it. Right, before the video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment on this video. And also, thank you so much, because I'm seeing a lot of subscribers on this channel. It means we're doing something right. Thank you so much for this. So the Zambian government, which leads the Troika currently, has tabled the Zimbabwean election in a circular that has been making rounds, which has set an agenda of the Troika convening on the 27th of September. But now, you remember I once talked about how we have this belief in a miracle messiah to save us in Zimbabwe. Now here is something you'll definitely find fascinating about this meeting. Number one, they're discussing the security situation in Eastern DRC, where they intend to deploy soldiers to the Eastern DRC. By the way, it's the most important thing. That's the first thing that's in the agenda. The second thing is the Sadc report on the electoral observation mission. And now people will be inclined to think that due to the chronology of matters above, you will not see this coming to life or to fruition or anything happening. I don't want to make you expect a lot, but then I want you to listen to me. This is something you will enjoy in the coming days. And you remember a few weeks ago, I did a video reacting to the House of Lords in the UK while they were discussing the elections in Zimbabwe. The key elements that I want you to take note of. The first thing is the fact that the whole world hasn't responded to these elections. Have you noticed that? Of course, we have the likes of the obvious ones like the SA president Cyril Ramaphosa, and the Tanzanian president, and the Namibian president, right? They have responded, and and Masisi. These are the obvious guys that would always clap hands for AD when he does something. But what we have seen is that even the all-weather friends have remained quiet, and you think this is over. Not even once. It's just the beginning. I don't know why people think that this is the end of the situation. It's not even half done. So the contents of the Electoral Observer's Mission Report is very crucial, and it's a finishing blow to the legitimacy of the sham regime. All the sanctions that are supposed to come to the ZANU-PF government are just in the bag, and they'll be unleashed the moment the Sadc report is read out. You remember, let me just take you back to the situation. The British government is literally waiting to hear about the report that Sadc is going to be reading from the Troika. That is going to be a determining factor to whether they're going to sanction the government or not. But you can tell already that the sanctions are coming. You can tell already that there is no collaborative effort that is going to come through these two governments. So to get you into light, do you really think that AD will ever stand a chance with these coming sanctions? Now you need to understand one mistake that AD did that Mugabe didn't do. AD showed the Western world that he needs their approval. Having the EU come with their report, and that is already blowing the regime, going for meetings, looking for legitimacy, and now they know that he cares, and this will completely destroy his chances of ever becoming a legitimate leader in Zimbabwe. You see, AD has engaged in a lot of conversations with the West, and some of these conversations were talking about the issues to do with how he did the re-engagement policy. He's trying to re-engage and get back to the Commonwealth. He's trying to fund the white farmers that lost their lands during the land reform. He's trying to appease the West. Therefore, they know he has interest in their approval. He will have only two options, or maybe let me say three options. The first one will be to become stubborn and rule with an iron fist. The second one will be to bow to the pressure and call for a rerun. And thirdly, to call for a GNU, which is highly likely in this case. Actually, there's been a lot of word in the high offices that the president wishes for a GNU, which leads to the question, will Chamisa accept it? However, I would like to point this out. There's something that I really hate to say, but it's something that is essential. The only key driver to a GNU is violence. I'm not saying people should resort to violence, but I mean the catalysts or the thing that makes people get into the idea of a GNU has to be some sort of unity of purpose, to purport that there is some citizen or there are some citizens that are uprising. And to avoid butchering of people, we have to unite, and this is one of the best skills that ZANU-PF uses. I can give you historical instances where they try to force the opposition leaders to bow to unity by excessive use of violence. First, it was Joshua Nkomo in 1982, where they were coming up with some baseless accusations to force his hand, and when they didn't want to fight, they wanted to wipe out the whole tribe because they didn't want to participate in a war. They didn't want to participate in anything to do with violence. And when you don't fight, they wipe out everyone to remain in control of the status quo until the world intervenes. The unity is forced. Again, Morgan Tsvangirai in 2008, after they lost the election, they also used the violence to corner him to the negotiation table. And this is what we need to look out for. They'll use violence, or they'll incite through paying someone to come up with the demonstration idea And the moment you and I, who are not part of the paid people, enter the show, we become the sacrificial lambs. And once blood is spilled, the attention they want is sought, then the GNU is in place. And sadly, because you're afraid of many people dying, the terms and conditions will be very unfair, to think of the least. Anyway, I'm done with this issue. Now, the government of Zimbabwe is very evil. I had to say this, and a lot of people would say, Simon, why are you so hateful? Why do you hate your government so much? Why are you always speaking wrong about your government? You know what? It's easy. It's just easy, you know. Even if you say I'm bitter, okay, fine. People can say people are bitter. But I don't know why things have to be treated with a calm hand when things are just happening in the open. When people are bitter, it means you're doing something wrong. And bitterness is not a crime. It's an expression of how people feel about you. And to say the government of Zimbabwe is really evil, it's actually the least I can say, because it's worse than evil. Now, pensioners have worked all their lives, saving their money to retire and enjoy the comfortable life in their homes. That is the dream. And what does the government do? First, they convert their valuable money and turn it into paper, whatever they call it, experimenting with people's savings. Imagine years and years you've been working, saving your valuable assets, valuable money, thinking that one day I'm going to be going for a holiday in South Africa one day, or besides that, taking care of my grandchildren. And then you have someone turning your money into some experimental currency called the RTGS, or currency called the ZWL. In fact, I want you to watch this video. And if you watch this video, I want you to tell me what you think.
Ndabva kumbanchuya kunoku ndichida kuti ndimirire mari dzedu dzatiropuwa nenasa. Saka pandasvika ndaona vanhu vakazara. Asi chichemo chedu isusu tese takadai imanyaya yemari yatirikupikwa. Kuti itikwanire, haisi kutikwanira. Chikumbiro chedu ndechekuti dai tapiwawo mari inotenga. Munhu wese kudai kugara kudai tauya kuseni. Tikatoona mapurisa auya. Padranze endai. Vandibhataramba ndikakumbira kubvunza. Chichemo chatinacho mwanangu ndechekuti tipiwawo mari inotenga, izvozvo hatina dzekudzokera kumba. Vakati hayi pano tokupai 5 minutes. Saka pa 5 minutes taramba takamira tichedza kuti tione rubetsero tashayiwa. Tikavazoti alright, manager pabuda akati tiendai kumabhenki enyu, vamwe vanhu moenda kumabhenki kwenyu kwamunotora. Saka kundendereka kwese kwatikuita tirikuda mari, toda kudzokera kudzimba tonowanawo chekudya.
Muri kuti munotambira mari isingatenga, isingambotengi imbori mari iko yamuri kumbotambira yacho?
Ini ndirisanike mwedzi wakapera takapuwa 10,000. Mwedzi uno tikutonzwa kuti topuwa $3. Saka mina tinokwana kubhadhara rendere. 10,000
RTGS kana US?
RTGS.
Saka makazo yakakwanisa kushanda here?
Haina chayakanishandira nanhasi handina kana mari.
Now, after watching this video, how do you feel? Alright, fine. I know if you're a normal human being, you'll be pained. How about those in ZANU-PF watching this video? How do you feel about this? Is this fair? On top of this, do you really feel like there is any reason to judge people who are angry at your government? Do you judge Simon when he goes on the internet and says, this should stop? Do you judge Hopewell when he goes on the internet and say, this is blatantly a corrupt way of dealing with things? Is it fair? Anyways, on top of this lady is called Priska Mufomira. She stole over $90 million belonging to the pensioners' money. She was arrested by Sadc, taken to court. Then she said she's mentally unfit for the corruption charges trial. Then the same mentally unstable lady came back as a legislator, going with over 90 million in embezzlement funds. Public funds. Guys, pensioners are looking so sad and frail, while one individual gets scot-free with $90 million. I'm not talking about 1,000. I'm talking about $90 million. over 90 actually. They say 100 million, and I'm pretty sure someone there. Someone who is going scot-free, walking in the streets of Harare, walking in the streets of Zimbabwe with over 90 million embezzled. The courts are saying nothing because that person said I'm mentally unstable. How do we sleep at night knowing that someone went with over 90 million of our parents' money, hard-earned money, and we say nothing? And you ask the youths, what are we doing about it? Or if you're like me, Simon, probably on a podcast talking about it, and probably some are on TikTok dancing or lip singing to some song, Japanese song. Our youths, and to them it doesn't concern them. It's life as usual. If things go wrong, I'm just gonna continue and sell 3-4 phones, and then my life is sorted. I'll look for means of survival. But your parents are dying of depression because what they were promised by the government was, we're going to protect your properties, we're going to protect the value of the money, and next thing, that money is turned into nothing. $3. That woman was talking about $3 equivalent. How do you feel? Anyway, let's continue. The president has not stopped appointing his family. He understands the importance of family, right? Always put family first. He has once again appointed Martin Rushwaya as chief secretary to the president. But this is not my biggest shock actually, because we saw the nepotism and nothing happened. So this is not my biggest shock. I'm actually used to this. So the biggest shock that I have is he occupied a position where someone retired. Imagine, in Zimbabwe there's someone who retires. That's new. To retire gracefully, to just give up, to say, you know what, it's my time to just go home and relax. Someone did that, and the president put his family right there. So you can just imagine how much nepotism is going on. Every position that is not filled is going to someone who is familiar with the president. How do you feel? But anyway, going back to the Rushwaya guy, does this sound familiar? Do you remember a lady called Henrietta? Guys, let's be honest. If anyone has to become a proper president in Zimbabwe, we should make corruption punishable by death. Honestly, if I would be the first one to sign a referendum to say corruption should be punishable by death, here's why. See, this is Henrietta Rushwaya. In October 2020, she was arrested for allegedly trying to smuggle gold out of Zimbabwe, and she was acquitted due to lack of evidence. Then the question is, who is she? She is a cousin to the president, and she is a niece to the president, right? And a top official in ZANU-PF. She was attempting to smuggle 6.09 kgs of gold. It's worth around $330,000. So if you have listened to Hopo Chingono, he said to build an intensive K unit will only cost $37,000. And how much was stolen and how much was being smuggled? 330,000. How many of intensive care units that we can have in the country if we had dedicated and proper leaders? Imagine how much money is being flaunted buying vehicles that are worthless when we have so much little to spend to save someone's life. And then you come and tell me that Oh, Idi Huchi. Oh, Idi is honey. Oh, Idi is our best man. Oh, Idi is the best president. Come on, guys. Just think of it. Do we need to really like help you to think? This country is going to the dogs, and no one is saying anything about it because people are just waiting for Sadc to act. Someone should come. Hakainde Hichilema has to come and solve our problems. What are we doing as Zimbabweans? Are we ready to face the truth that no one is really coming? That's the truth. And by saying that, I have a question. If so much hope is put in individuals, like for example, we're talking about Hakainde Hichilema acting for the benefit of Zimbabweans, what if one day Hakainde Hichilema comes and says, you know what, ED is right? Or what if he doesn't make it to the next morning? I'm just assuming. What if so much hope that we have entrusted in some certain individuals, what if tomorrow morning there are no more? Who is going to take over this messianic role that we're giving people? I don't know. I just want to ask you a question. The third thing that I wanted to talk about was Chamisa being a sellout. But with the time that I'm left with, I'm already seeing I'm unable to continue with this topic. So the next one, I'm going to be doing interviews. And these interviews will be by a lot of prominent people. Some people who you know in social media, some people you know in political commentary. So you'll be having a lot of interviews that will be discussing about how people are viewing Chamisa and this whole thing that's going on. Of course, your boy right here doesn't think it's true, but it doesn't matter. It has to be discussed. Now I have different people discussing this, including a very prominent analyst. The biggest question is, how are we going to deal with these issues that are hanging around? And we're saying nothing. I don't know how, honestly, I don't know how many people have passed on thinking that things are going to change in Zimbabwe. And sadly, we're not saying anything about it. So we need to act, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to say something. And I have taken it upon myself to speak out, whether they like it or not. I'm seeing they're coming into the comment section, but I don't care anymore because I've been hurt, I've been silenced before, but not anymore. Until next time, my name is Tavada Simon. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Till next time, peace out.